What's up, Guardians, and welcome back, Warlocks. I'm Profane, and thank you as always for checking out the video. As we continue to check out the best builds in Destiny, we'll be looking at what most would consider to be a niche build. This is an extremely powerful build right now that revolves around an exotic that's gotten a lot of significant updates, but it's a build that most players are too afraid to use, and at this point I'm convinced that it's not because of what this exotic does, but it's because of how it looks. Between a long list of exotic reworks, paired with new artifact mods and new armor sets, the Chromatic Fire has been able to redefine itself within the hierarchy of exotics. And even when we have all these powerful buddy builds available, this exotic absolutely cooks. This is an agnostic exotic, which means that it will work on any subclass, but based on what energy type your selected super is, this will provide various benefits. Unlike a lot of common builds that you'll see right now, this is a very weapon-focused setup. It's not what you would go with when you're in need of optimal boss damage, but if you're just clearing through your standard mobs of enemies, like you would be doing in most of the Portal content, then this will make for a perfect option. The Chromatic Fire comes with a crystalline transistor intrinsic trait, which caters to the use of kinetic weapons, and when we say kinetic weapons, we are not talking about strand and stasis. When we defeat enemies with kinetic weapons, an elemental explosion will be triggered, and that's going to match the element type of our super, and it's going to inflict an elemental debuff that matches our selected super. So this has the potential to trigger Blind, Scorch, Slow, and Sever. And it can even apply a lesser form of Void Weakening, which would apply a 15% weakening debuff. And that is the route that we will be taking with our setup, because with a 15% increase in damage, we'll have a much easier time taking down enemies. As you continue to defeat enemies with kinetic weapons, the size of the explosions will increase, allowing us to inflict those debuffs onto more enemies. There's a number of powerful exotics and even legendary weapons that we could pair up with a Chromatic Fire, but the one that we're showing off today is the Wish Ender. It's not the golden boy that it once was, but this still has a lot of viability in today's sandbox. It could definitely go for a few reworks, maybe even a new catalyst, but with a combination of Chromatic Fire, a few select artifact mods, and the Tech Sec armor set, we'll be living large with the Wish Ender. This exotic bow overpenetrates enemies, dealing 2 instances of damage. It's able to stun barrier champion shields, and it deals 10% bonus damage against taken enemies. And when using Tech Sec armor, will deal 200% bonus damage to any enemy shield, and will create concussive explosions whenever we defeat powerful enemies, and whenever we break opponent shields. And those explosions will take enemies out of combat temporarily, and since they'll be weakened, we'll have a pretty easy time knocking those enemies out at a rapid pace. We'll be able to give the Wish Ender a big advantage by using the Argent Quiver artifact mod. This will provide us with a 35% bonus in damage that gets spread out over 3 shots, but this mod consumes armor charges to make that happen, so you'll need to be able to create orbs with armor mods like Siphon and Reaper. But we can also use the Semi-Auto Striker mod, which will grant armor charges whenever landing consecutive precision hits. By focusing into our weapon stat, we'll be able to give the Wish Ender as much as a 15% bonus in damage against rank and file enemies and even boss level enemies. This would also increase the damage of our special and heavy weapons, and it would increase the amount of ammo that we're able to generate. We're using this combination on Prismatic because we'll be able to combine the benefits of Radiance with Devour, which will give us more weapon damage along with a reliable source of health recovery. We're also getting things like Transcendency, which will be able to charge up very quickly. Plus we can add in the benefits of Severing, allowing us to neuter our enemy's damage output by 40%, which is really going to come in handy against tankier enemies. Feed the Void will give us access to Devour, and we'll be able to trigger that when defeating enemies with any ability. But that's not just limited to our grenade and melee, because this does include elemental explosions, like the ones we'll be able to create because of Chromatic Fire. And once Devour is active, we'll gain bonus grenade energy and bonus health regeneration on every final blow. When it comes to our second aspect, we could go with Hellion or Bleak Watcher so that we'd still have some sort of buddy, but we're actually using Weaver's Call so that we'll be able to create threadlings whenever we cast our Rift, and this will be in addition to what we can create with our grenade. And our threadlings are going to be able to reap the benefit of increased damage thanks to the Pack Tactics artifact mod. When it comes to Prismatic Fragments, we're using Facet of Dawn. So not only will our Arcane Needle cause enemies to become unraveled, but it's going to grant us with Radiance, which will give us a 5-second window of 20% increased damage. And with 3 charges available, along with an increase in regen whenever Transcendency is active, we'll be able to rely on that bonus damage a lot. And because we are using Facet of Grace, we'll gain bonus Transcendency energy whenever defeating enemies with the Wish Ender. We've got Facet of Purpose, which will give us an elemental bonus whenever we collect an orb. And since we are using a Void Super, we'll gain a Void Overshield, which will give us a 70% bonus in damage resistance. And when we have elemental buffs like Radiance, Devour, and Overshields active, we'll gain bonus class ability energy thanks to the use of Facet of Hope. This is going to give us a 40% increase whenever one buff is active, but that's going to jump to 60% whenever we have 2. Not only is that going to help us generate more threadlings, but it's going to let us cash in on bonus weapon damage and bonus ability uptime since we are using an Empowering Rift. And our final fragment is Facet of Solitude, so as we land consecutive precision hits, we'll trigger a burst of Severy, which will get inflicted onto nearby enemies. So we've got our powered melee giving us a 20% increase in damage, and it's unraveling enemies, causing damage over time. We're then able to create elemental explosions that are going to weaken, concuss, and sever enemies. We've got a ton of little green minions adding in extra damage, and we've got our Empowering Rift bumping up our weapon damage even more. So no matter what those portal activities throw at you, you're going to have everything that you need to be able to overcome and dominate. Some players might still look at the Chromatic Fire as an inferior exotic, but over the last month or two, this has really blossomed into a powerful exotic. So if you've been reluctant, it's time to throw that out the window and give the Chromatic Fire a try. And once you have, let us know what you thought of it. That's going to wrap things up for today's video, but thank you as always for checking it out. If you need help getting today's build set up, then be sure to check out my Mobalytics and dim links which are down below. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. So does being a member. So a big shout out and thank you to all of our channel members. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.